So, Dave, it seems like we've done fucked up again. Pissed off some motherfuckers. At least this time, it's only the worst fan base in the United States of America. Look, here's the thing about Spurs fans, bro. Like, talk about silver spoon, born with a silver spoon in your mouth. Like, these guys, when the Spurs are bad for the last, decade or whatever, where have they been? 5 years? Like, there was zero Spurs fans. And now they get one player and they're all like, oh, we're the best fans in the world. Well, I'll tell you what. If you guys want to avoid being too wrong, don't compare Humpty Dumpty to Rambo. Motherfuckers.
All right.
You guys are sitting there with with Victor acting like he's some stud. He is a sheep in wolf's clothing, and we're talking about Chet. He's a motherfucking wolf.
Man, you need to get your mic fixed there real fast, Mark. And while Mark's getting his mic fixed, I'm going to tell you guys this: is that I've been a huge Chet fan since I saw him at 16 at the camp where he just demolished Seth Curry on his defense and his offense. And I've been watching him. And the fact is that if you look at a player like Chet, who really is the person that devours other animals, is the lion of the big men. And you look at somebody like Victor, and you can say all the things you want to say about Victor. He's this, he's that. But I don't see anybody speaking up about how tough he is. I just don't. And I don't see people saying, oh, he's impossible to guard. Like, I see people saying he's very difficult. His height. All right. I mean, like, is LeBron difficult to guard because of his size? Is LeBron difficult to guard because of his muscles? No, you say LeBron's difficult to guard because he can dominate, period. And I look at Victor and I'm saying, where's the like, I get it. He can drop 20 plus points and congratulations. All right. But in order to win in the NBA now, an all-around player. And people will say Victor is an all-around player. And that's fine because his Class C competition in France, right, has ex-NBA players in it. Okay. And because it has ex-NBA players in it, he knows NBA players. And we didn't see him play against Dwight. Like, if Dwight had played him in that, shut him down. Obviously, Dwight was in his own little league, right? But my point about this is that you can look back and you can see the history of the game, and you can. This person has that it factor. This person doesn't. This person has all the strengths to become the next league. And you look at Victor and you're saying, okay, where is that like vicious person? I mean, I'm sorry, all right? But we've got to bring it up. If Victor was a vicious person, right, he wouldn't be talking about this whole Britney Spears situation and her grabbing him.
Yeah,
we're talking about he's taking a molehill and turning it into a mountain, saying she grabbed me. Like, what grab and a touch? I mean, if this was in the court of law, what would be the difference between a grab and a touch? And to me is that he went with that, and I don't get it. I just don't. It doesn't comprehend to me why that is like that, unless have been served to him on a silver platter the last few years of his life. So the point is that he is this God in his own mind. If that's the case, he is this God in his own mind. Like, that's where we're talking about, guys. Chet doesn't have that. He's going to devour you. He's going to rip your throat out right while you're still alive. And I feel like Victor would be like tiptoeing around you and being like, I shot you with a bow and arrow, and then or shot you with a, whatever, and then tiptoeing, letting him bleed out. And that's cool, and that's fine. That's an attack way. But they stand up for somebody and rip their throat out while they're in the basketball game. Then somebody that stands and shoots them with a bow and arrow, and hey, look at it, I put 26 points up in the, like, so what? Chet's going to put up 14 points, 16 points, 18
What's
points.
What's up, Wyatt? What's up, Matthew?
12 pounds, right? And he's going to put 6 assists up. And you're going to say that Chet's going to be more effective with his 25 points a game? Come on.
Chet's not. Like, look, Wemby's not putting up 25. Look, Wemby, unless he's out there posting up against Britney Spears, I don't see how he's going to really be able to be as effective as he was in the summer league. I mean, look, and the fact that the Spurs shut him down so goddamn quickly. Oh my God, dude. And he is arrogant. And if anything, he's coming off as incredibly sexist. He's coming off
pompous,
as incredibly misogynist, pompous, and he's sitting there and he's got this weak ass smile, like, oh, everything has just been handed to me. I don't even have to work that hard. And then you look at Chet, and Chet went to Gonzaga. Chet went to a team where Drew Timme was the best player.
School of hard knocks, man.
Right. He took a role that would be a lot more likely for him in the NBA. And if he had gone and played French league basketball, like, he would have been seen as like Wemby. He would have been like, oh my gosh, look at him. Nobody can guard him, right? But instead, he goes and he plays a challenge. He takes on a challenge and tries to go as far as he can. Goes and joins the best NCAA team in the nation that's established stars and stuff.
I want to throw this out here, and I laugh every single time a San Antonio fan that brings up, I guess you didn't watch the French League playoffs. No. I watched the French League playoffs, and that's where I got most of my shit that I'm talking about Victor from. That's what's so mind-boggling is how can a San Antonio fan sit there big playoff and say Victor is a strong motherfucker? What's so wrong with you guys? What's so delusional about it, man? Like, you cannot say that Victor is strong. He is a weak ass bitch.
Even Brittany knows it. And here's the thing, bro.
Yeah, Brittany will make a song about it.
And that's why I'm just sitting here watching, like, I'm watching this and I'm like, the Spurs fans have not been paying attention to basketball. And now all of a sudden, Wemby's better than Chet. Okay, if you had 5 Wembys, if you had 5 Wembys on the same team, you still wouldn't be better than us. But they got one player, right? And they're going to be at the bottom of the draft again, and they're all fucking fired up. Like, dude, they're all fired up.
I know, dude. And listen,
they got one guy. We got Shea.
I want to say this.
We got Giddy. We got Chet. We got J-Dub. Who do the San Antonio Spurs have?
Dude,
they got Pop and they got Wemby. Come on.
You got Victor. You know whose big of issue is going to be this year? Britney fans, bro. Britney Spears fans are never for what he did. They're just not. No matter what he does, where he goes in LA, where he goes in New York, where he goes in San Antonio, people are going to always yell at him for being a jerk.
You thought it was bad when somebody dated
Britney
a Kardashian?
Spears, man. Lucky, bro. Lucky.
Dude, if you think it was bad when somebody dated a Kardashian, like Lamar Odom, Chris Humphries, Blake Griffin, they got shit on everywhere they went. Britney's fans are going to come after him. And dude, this morning she released another video on TMZ asking for an apology. And Wemby, on top of being a weak sister, he's out there and he's being a douche and he's acting like Britney deserves what she got.
I didn't do anything.
You know what?
Like, you know what's even stupider is like after more unintelligent, any way you want to put it, guys. This is just, I can't handle this. Like, Victor puts it out that basically he believes hit herself, or at least that's what the police report said. I mean, like, I've seen it like 10 times, you know, like there's no Britney's hand hitting her face. And that's illusion starts, guys. For me, if I'm sitting there and this is Chet's situation that's happened, right? I say to Chet, Chet, you got 2 things you can do, right? First of all, you go call Britney and offer to pay for her meal and you sit with her in the entire meal. Or B, you're fucked. Britney fans will never let you down for this. And you can say, oh, screw Britney. No, I'm telling you guys. You guys don't even know. With Britney's fans is this. They're passionate, they're loud, and they will not stop until she's free. And now they have another putting her in a straitjacket in their mind, and that's Victor. And they're not going to stop, guys. And I'm telling you, Victor's going to get so sick and tired of it. He's going to finally fold, and then that's going to become the true person who Victor is that when you put pressure on Victor, he folds. Because if he had just stood up and stood up and been a man and said, I'm sorry, that should have never paid for Britney's meal, or let me take you out, Britney, guess what the situation would be in right now?
Just take Victor a picture and apologize.
I know.
That's all she ever wanted.
boggling. Like he's not mentally able.
Dude, you know what it
he's
reminds me
not
of?
mentally able to understand.
It reminds me of like
How can
every
he play in the
great
NBA for 20 years in the NBA if he can't mentally understand how to
can't
be
handle
happy,
Britney,
make Britney
bitch.
happy?
Dude, it reminds me so much of like every great political scandal. It's not the initial scandal that gets people fired,
Oh,
right?
here we
It's the
go,
cover up.
Matthew. It's the security
cover
guard.
up.
There we go. True San
It's a
Antonio
cover
fan.
up. It's the cover up, dude. The cover up is why people end up losing their jobs. And Vic is sitting there covering up. If I was going to talk to him, I would say like,
Be a
okay, so
man,
you
Vic.
said she grabbed you, right? But what if she didn't grab you? What if she touched you? Does she still deserve it? Does she still deserve it? You're acting like, oh, she grabbed me, so whatever happened to her, I can't control. You know what I mean? But if she didn't grab you, does she still deserve it? Like, no.
Dude,
And stop acting like a
this
girl
is-
deserves to get hit. This
but
is not France.
Why are we talking about this? It's because it's a mental aspect of the game. If you don't mentally have it, you're a weak ass bitch. And the thing about going to figure that out. And if people know how to get to Victor's mind, it's just a matter of time before they shut him down every single time. And that's what people are not understanding. If it was just this one incident, I'll be like, okay, you know what? This is one incident with Britney. I'm cool with it. But there's been time after time a red flag goes up. And Matthew, I want to say one thing
Matthew's
about
a
it
joke.
to you.
He's telling us.
No,
we're
I want to say
unserious.
this.
He's
Go
silly.
watch how screens. And I will tell you this. When Victor tears his first ACL, I would like you to come back and say, you're right, Dave. Because Victor's going to tear his ACL setting a screen, have what it takes there. And that's what we're saying. We're not saying anything about his game. We're not talking shit on his game. We're
Call
saying
him the greatest
his mental
that never
aspect.
was. Weak. Yo,
And that's
he
why
doesn't-
Chet is going to dominate the NBA, is because if you look at what Chet is able to do mentally, right? There's a dog, all right? And people call it a dog. I call it a wolf. The wolf inside Chet is going to devour Victor time. Victor might have the plus in the first or second matchup, but after Chet understands how to guard Victor and how to take advantage of the system, I'm telling you guys, it doesn't matter. Chet will make Victor look stupid because he'll isolate Victor, he'll go around Victor, he'll finish on Victor, he'll take him out, he'll take him like a point guard, and then he'll pass the ball to the wide open man because they'll have to double down on Chet because Victor will not be enough.
Dude. And Matthew's sitting there acting like, he says, what is Victor supposed to do? How about you don't lie when we have cameras? Like, Victor, what did he do? He did nothing.
Act like
he
you
did
got
nothing until he
testicles.
started. Yeah. He started acting like she manhandled him, like she beat him, like this was like a domestic dispute, like he hit her. No, she got hit, and then everybody's like, oh, she's a bitch and she deserves it. That's why she put out a video again on TMZ, or TMZ picked it up, because she's saying people are saying she deserved to get hit. Like,
that's it,
so,
man. And Victor's people are unable to and say, stop being a little spoiled bitch. Stop being this weak ass shit that you're putting out there. Be strong. Be a man.
Right. Be a man.
The mistake and move on from the mistake. That's the problem. Mentally unable to be tough. And that is something
that's why you can't grow a basketball player in a lab, bro. Dude, you can't grow a basketball player in a lab. Like, competitiveness isn't something that you give somebody after that they get like, oh, but he's got all the skills. Yeah,
he's got all the skills, man.
Smile. But he doesn't have any toughness. And who's he going to guard? He's going to guard one position. But like, think about it, right? His whole career,
listen.
he's been
I want to be fair
than everybody.
I want to be fair. He can guard the power forward in the center position. All right. But where he's going to struggle at is when the switch comes to, a small forward or a shooting guard, when he has to do that. He's going to struggle. And the reason he's going to struggle is because in the past, he's been able to follow the person because they're slower. And then he can get blocks and, nasty stuff. That's not going to happen. Slow for that. And people will say whatever you want, okay? I get it. He works out an insane amount. Victor does so much to make himself faster. But if you look at the way he quickly moves, there's no quick movement. There's no, like, I'm going to go set a screen and he gets his feet right.
Matthew thinks, like, the G League and the French League is the NBA. It's all right.
I know.
Look, he's a rookie.
That's the San Antonio fans' delusion. It's like, listen, I want to be clear with
worst fans in the NBA.
All right.
Worst fans in the NBA.
Clear on this. The French league that he played in would probably be one of my last choices. I would rather my son go play for overtime overturn. I would rather my son go play for overtime elite than him play in the French league.
Shut down Brendan Miller. That's a good one. That's a good one, Matthew.
Wait, are we? God, Matthew, listen, Matthew, you had a decent case up until you just dropped that bomb, bro.
I
Listen,
know.
go watch some film, and then you can come back and you can talk to real men. But until you do that,
says Vic only wants to play the. He demand the 5.
Bam.
Yo,
that's right, Matt.
he is as
doesn't
cheap
have
in Wolves
the
clothing. Hey, look,
gotta
can you
be willing
imagine
to play
a
'em all.
single era of basketball where he wouldn't get dominated at the 5? There isn't any. You'd have to go back to pre-Wilt Chamberlain to find a era where it would be like, oh yeah, Victor's bullshit. It just doesn't. And I get it. Some people are like, oh.
I want to be clear with this. Victor will average most of his career a double-double. He just will, okay? He's not going to not do that. But where it's going to – the problem is that what I call the same thing I said to people when Zion Williams was being drafted. Do you really want a guy that's going to miss half the games over the next 4 years? I was wrong. He missed 3/4 of the game over the last 4 years. My point is that Victor has those same things that I had about Zion Williamson. And it keeps on going back to it. Does he have what it takes to not be injured through an entire season? No, not. And if he gets to play 50 games his rookie year, right, he will be lucky. And that's that. I don't want him to play very much. I know in that screen that he set that almost tore his ACL, and he made it clear that he is not going to play another minute until he can get the handle on that shit. And I'm telling you right now, it's not a fluke that I'm saying these things. So you can say all you want, Matthew, the situation that you guys, San Antonio's fans are sitting in is very bleak because you don't have a point guard. You have a power forward that I would consider a piece in Shohan. I like him. But after that, you guys got nothing. Nothing that will be able to compete with young, talented that are in the NBA. And I would say this to you in the most respectful way. I would rather have the players on Houston Rockets than the players on the and that's the truth about it, man. And there's nothing else that you can say that would change my mind. The Houston Rockets have done a better job at accumulating young assets than the San Antonio Spurs have. And the San Antonio Spurs should have pulled the plug way before they did. And because of that, it's handicapped. That is a mistake that your president has made. And that is something that we know the owner. We know the owner of the San Antonio Spurs. This is not
what up, Phoenix?
We know, and we have met with the San Antonio ownership. We have sat down with David Robinson, sat down with Tim Duncan. We know what we're saying, guys. It's not like we're just up here like yelling and screaming at the mic saying, you know, this is that about San Antonio. Vic, nice piece, but if you can stay healthy 3/4 of the season for the next 4 years, I'd be surprised.
Yeah, every Spurs fan wants to be like, well, we've already had great big men, so therefore Wemby will be the next one. Like, you got to judge him on his own merit. You know what I mean? Like,
man, when Tim Duncan came out, I was the biggest fan of Tim Duncan, period. I thought Tim Duncan was going to be the next Shaq of the NBA. I thought he was going to dominate on every single aspect. All right? I am not saying this just to be a dick to the San Antonio. I would say this to anybody that had a Victor, period. If Detroit got Victor, I'd be laughing at Detroit right now. This is not a San Antonio system. I was a fan of the San Antonio Spurs for a very short time in my life. When I had an opportunity to sit down and I think I was team mark, and I got to shake David Robinson's hand. It was a pretty big moment in my life. All right. So I like San Antonio. So for me to come out about Victor is because it's the same thing about Zion Williamson. It's the same thing about some of the other guys that have come in the league that you're like, this player could be Odom. You think about Odom. This player could be the next big man if he stays healthy. And that's that, man.
Matthew, he says, if the Thunder got Victor, we hate. And here's the thing. We would be a hell of a lot more realistic than the Spurs fans because we would
want him to play 25 games and get in shape, period. Get another year without playing.
There's fear about the longevity of his career based on his ACLs, based on all that stuff. We would sit there and be like, this is scary. Like, if I would be scared.
I would be scared.
I would rebuild his entire game before I ever put him in the NBA because, like you said, those screens, everything from his screening to the way he shoots with his back to the basket, to the way that he just doesn't take the game very seriously. He doesn't understand the fundamentals of the game. Like,
Well, no, he understands the fundamentals. He just doesn't understand the fundamentals of how not to get injured.
Porzingis, Wyatt, like a person who has always been able to get away with just jumping over everybody suddenly goes into a league full of the best basketball players in the world who have seen people with unlimited athleticism before. It's not the first rodeo for these guys, but for Victor, he's just going to go out there and try to do that shit. What's going to happen, bro? Like, Blake Griffin was built like a tank, and his body couldn't handle the NBA wear and tear for the same amount of time. And everybody's like, oh, yeah, Victor's just going to play for 20 years. Based on what? Nothing, man. It's all that is a Spurs fan saying he's a Spur, and therefore Spurs are great, and therefore he will be great.
I'm glad Matthew asked this question. If we got the Victor, how would I feel? Guys, again, if he played this first year, I would have him playing 25 games, 30 games. I mean, I want him to get close to half the season before I pull the plug on him, because the strength isn't there. People are like, oh, look how he's ripped. Look, I get it. But look how one person ran into, or a bunch of people ran into his legs and extended his knees. This is where strength comes in. Okay? You don't see that happening to Chet because Chet understands exactly what is up, right? Like, I'm looking at Victor and I'm trying to be nice, and but we're being honest about the situation that Victor's in. He is acting like he's a wolf, and that's cool. But guess what happens? We've already seen what happens in the NBA. Their names are Christian Porzingis, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, guys? Like,
yep.
There's a moment that they can't rise, they can't get above. It's like, how do you get to get that wolf in him to come out? Dallas couldn't do it. New York couldn't do it. The Wizards couldn't.
The Celtics are going to try now.
Celtics are going to try it now. And guess what? Nobody can do it. And the same thing will be with Victor. In 10 years, when he's been in the league and he's been playing, maybe San Antonio his entire career at that point, because they've decided to, hey, he's shown, kind of like with Zion Williams, like, oh, he's shown so much, right? We're going to give him the key. But with that being said, is that we're going to see next year get a massive contract. We're going to see it happen because we're not going to let him go to free agency. And I think we can get him for a little bit cheaper than until he actually was a restricted free agent. So we're going to see Chet get signed. We're going to see all these other guys get signed, and it's going to be happening. Like, we're going to give him an extra year of good pay, hopefully. Maybe not. I don't know. But the point is that I'm really hoping that we can, because the only way for us to be able to compete with some of these other younger teams in the league is by having the 15 players that we have and being able to rotate and causing issues for Victor or, whoever else we're playing, because we can throw, so many different players at different times, double team them on different sides. You've got different zones we can play that we do. Our defense is elite. So all we've got to do is just focus on playing that elite defense, and the offense will come. I'm not too worried about Shea going out there, and I think he's going to average 32 points a game just because I like the way he plays. And then you add Chet in there, and for me, if himself on a team like San Antonio, you would expect him to go out there and score 24 points a game, but he's not. You're going to expect him to score 18 points, get a double-double that looks nice, and get a bunch of assists because he's playing with inside the system. The system isn't designed to be around Chet. It's designed for Chet to be involved in the system. And that's the difference between the San Antonio aspect and the Oklahoma City Thunder aspect, is that we've got a system that's designed around other players than Chet, whereas San Antonio has one player that's designed around him. And I think that's where we need to keep on looking at and focusing at, is that this is more advanced than any other young team in the league, period. And I hate the Bleacher Report gave us second out of the reality is that we are the best young team in the league. There is no other team that's going to be equivalent to us.
Why? That's a good question. Bigger bust, Zion or Greg Oden?
Greg Odom. Listen, I only say Greg Odom is because I played a lot. If he had a chance to really dominate the NBA, he would be one of the better players of that generation, but he didn't. He got injured, and Williamson still has an opportunity to play out his contract, and he might be able
But
to do all right.
if he doesn't figure it out, I would say he's a bigger bust because it was clear that he had more talent when he. All right, so Milwaukee, top 5 defense next year. Thunder have an identity,
Yes.
and Thunder have the best young core, and that's the thing, and that's why we look at what Chet did by going to Gonzaga and playing with Drew Timme and playing on a team that was elite is really important because he fit in, right? Whereas like the other way is, okay, throw him the ball and let him go to work, right? And just do that over and over and over again. All right, fine. But that's just not how the NBA is going to be played in the future. I'm glad that they got an old school coach there in San Antonio for Victor because it'll maximize his potential. But in the end, bro, like this, it's not even close. Like if you're talking about all the Texas teams combined, you still couldn't put together a talented roster like the Thunder.
Yeah, I mean, if you put all the Texas teams combined, I think you could actually put a talented, but it would take all the Texas teams combined. All right, and that's that. You know, like. So I feel.
There you go, Matthew. We can agree. We can agree on something there. I dig it.
Hey, Matthew, listen, man. During that game, if you get bored watching the game itself, come on here and watch it with the Oklahoma City Thunder fans, man. Yeah,
Talk shit with us.
I enjoy talking some shit with you, man. You're dude, and I appreciate you saying what you truly believe and standing up for what you believe because. You know, that's all we're doing is we're standing up for what we believe, Victor. So I appreciate you being here.
Hey, a lot of people are new to us. Opinion. Right around the draft, we did the same thing with Chet and, Paulo and Jabari. It was like, listen, these guys are trash compared to Chet. And a lot of people came at us sideways. So a lot of people are new to this. They're not used to us talking Victor versus Chet. But this is where it's at right now. This is what everybody wants to talk about. And fortunately for us, we got Brittany on our side.
And unfortunately for us, Victor's still playing in the Summer League, Victor. What she's playing tonight, guys. So join us live tonight. We're playing against the Pacers, and Chet's going to be there. Jay Will's going to be there. Butler's going to be there, and I think one other guy that I'm missing is going to be there. So, like to me, it's where it's at.
Dude, I'm pumped, man. Like, Milwaukee, people call us delusional all the time. The thing is, a lot of people feel like. We're new to the game because our podcast is only 3 years old, but like we've been following the NBA since like before the Spurs were any good, like since like the early 90s, right? And we understand like you see players come through the league that everybody says things like the most talented prospect in the history since LeBron or whatever. Like people like to throw that shit out there, but I heard Brian Windhorst talking the other day, and he said LeBron James is the greatest sports story in history because. He was crowned the greatest when he was 16, and he has lived up to it over and over and over again, and he's done it without any negativity, like Ja or whoever you want to mention. And my thing about LeBron is, think about that. The rarity of living up to expectations makes it incredible. Like this idea that Wemby will automatically live up to expectations when people have put them so high is laughable. It's laughable. There's no way you can expect somebody to be that great. You can say he's got talent, like if he stays healthy, if he maximizes his potential, he could reach that. But to say automatically that's what he is, that's what's inviting him to be a bust. Like if people had reasonable expectations for a string bean from France, then that would be fine. But putting all of these unreasonable expectations on him and then saying anybody who says like that's kind of unreasonable is a joke, that just shows like the Spurs fans are new to the game. Like a lot of them will be like, oh, I liked them when we won championships. Yeah, but you haven't watched the NBA since it changed. This game is modernized. It's different than it used to be. And yes, the Spurs were part of shifting it into that, but they're no longer in the forefront of the NBA as far as innovation goes. Now they're trying to catch up.
That's it.
Thank you,
They're
Shane.
trying to catch up. I'm pulling up our members that we've recently opened up to everybody, but I want to kind of, when Mark's about to read I want to like leave it to you with this, is that like delusional, crazy, it's all that, whatever. I've always believed when Mark and I are doing this is that nobody's going to necessarily believe us or think that we're serious or anything else like that. But when we drafted Ousmane Dieng, I said that Ousmane Dieng was going to be the face of French basketball, and we had people laugh at us. I still believe that. I still believe that he's a dominating force inside of the French league. But when push comes to shove, right, Mark? I wrote you this yesterday, and this is truly how I believe. I hope they have a spot for 2, bro. That's it.
Hell yeah.
Crazy was a place. I hope they have a spot for 2 because people are going to call us crazy, and I'm cool with it. And I hope Mark and I will always have a spot there because to me, crazy's a place. It's not in your mind.
Blake Thompson, K. Bizzle, Smithsta, Cameron Peters, Wayne Hode, Bluegill, Unk, Golden Soldier, El Sombra, Ben, Mac, Callum, Too Cool, and Ryan. Shout out to these guys. The newest of the group, Too Cool and Ryan joined yesterday, bro. Obviously, that just gets us fired up because we're just here for the fucking shits and giggles, man. And Niner by nature, John, Unk, Alsombra,
So
and
throw this
Ryan
out
also
here.
given some donations too, but we appreciate you guys.
So Too Cool, he actually the NBL at one point in the lower leagues, the NBL. Really smart guy, one of the first Australian guys. But really, my listener from Australia at this point is none other than Sammy. Huge shout out to Sammy. If you guys want to look over my left shoulder right here, this jersey right here is an Andrew Gaze signed jersey from Warwick Giddy, Dave Simmons, Andrew Gaze, and a couple other guys on. Sammy gifted that to me, and I made the promise, man. I said I was going to keep that up as long as we did podcast. I'm going to keep that up. It's also, I'm going to be wearing it to a game this year, I hope, because it would be pretty baller to have that on my chest while trying to meet Josh Giddey guy. Incredible situation there, having a lot of fun and a lot of fans from Australia. So we appreciate you guys, and we'll be back